I'm Fabian from the Battle for Westnod project. Let me fetch my notes. I haven't prepared any slides and not much text because I want to lure you into a discussion about ethical questions of game development. I've been asked to introduce the audience to the Westnod project because there are people in here who haven't heard about Westnod. Who is it? A lot! Okay, Westnod is a turn-based strategy game with hex fields, very old school, with hand-drawn pixel images. Maybe you know Fantasy General or Battle Isle from Blue Byte, which is not exactly fantasy themed, but very similar. Yeah? Anything else? Nils, willst du noch was anderes sagen?
Heroes of Might and Magic?
Yeah, Magic. Sorry, we are full.
Is there any place? I mean, is there a position here? Excuse me.
Pardon?
Was ist los?
What's up? The room is full.
Okay.
You know, capacity
That's-
limit reached.
Yeah,
No one more in.
that's what I was asking.
It is. That's what the sign says. Like full.
Okay. The motivation for the discussion was I was working on a total conversion of another game into the Westnod engine, and after converting some of their buildings, I stumbled upon one called Nuclear Power Plant, which I found very exciting because, yeah, that's not a building I would like to have on my battlefield. If I were a soldier, I wouldn't like to be on a battlefield at all. Okay, when I looked into the file to convert it, it contained nothing. This building is producing some energy and it's consuming some material. It's not producing any waste, nor is there any... Sorry, we are
Sorry,
full.
full. Oh, seriously? Seriously?
Seriously. Okay, it's not producing any waste, and destroying the building causes no further action in the game. That kind of made me think if we as game developers should introduce game mechanics which are so far away from real life that they might hurt people's expectations and influence politics. I don't know. I guess you are many game developers here, and most games feature warlike actions. Is that true? No? What are your games about?
Anything, can be like with cars, with strategy, with anything.
And have you ethical restrictions or rules in your projects?
But it's an interesting question because, for example, a long time ago there was a game in Flash about McDonald's, and it was quite addictive. And I thought about the question about myself because the game was developed to criticize McDonald's and all the industry of the fast food. So the game in the beginning it was really addictive. It was trying to move the strategy along all the marketing. You have all the departments, you have the food chain, and etc. And of course you can put additives on the meat. You can do really nasty things in
Additives that make addictive?
The game was really well executed and developed. And what happened is, in the beginning I tried to do the good things. It was impossible, so you lose it immediately. So the next time I said, okay, I'm going to be really a badass. So I started adding additives, cheating people, firing employees, doing really bad things. And what happens is my curve of earnings was like woof, really up. And so I said, well, right now I'm a millionaire, so I'm going to try to do the right things. So I'm going to try to hire people, to remove the additives of the food, etc., etc. And what happened, in fact, is my curve was getting down back again. So I discovered that the game was developed just to criticize the McDonald's, but it was like kind of sad because it was the message that the game was sending to you is the only way to do good for you and earning money was doing bad things in the world. And I was really a little bit disappointed about, about the message, because every game has a message, a cultural message. When you play, you receive something, and if you receive such a negative message, you get pissed off.
Yeah, please.
And this discussion isn't anything new to games, specifically it's same with any media.
Yeah, indeed.
What kind of messages do you want to convey and so on. What's specific to games though is that they are simulations about system simulations basically. Every game simulates some kind of a system, and I think the main ethical question is whether it's okay to present a simulation without telling that this does not represent reality. For example, even disguising it as if it would represent reality. For example, Sims is a good example. It kind of tries to, okay, it has a very playful attitude, but it kind of tries to simulate.
The Sims
The
from?
Sims, yeah, The Sims. So it kind of tries to simulate reality, and it kind of conveys that this is like the real life, though it is a playful mode, yes. But anyway, the message is that it conveys is that when you get money, you get to buy things and so on. So you get to develop your character by getting money and navigating the social networks and so on. But the point is that it never says explicitly that this is our version of reality, and this might not actually be reality. Is it understandable that people understand this without explicitly telling them?
Yeah, I thought, aren't most people knowing, okay, this is a game? But is it true for children? I witnessed a boy and a girl playing at a Spielplatz, what is it called? A playground? And the boy jumped upon the girl and hurt it a little, and when he was interviewed about that, he told, yeah, I was expecting her to turn into a banana or some other fruit. It took me some time to realize that this concept is from Super Mario, which sounds a lot, yeah, Super Mario is innocent when you watch it as an adult. But it's free for children, even for very small children, and maybe appealing to them. And yeah, it caused that incident at the playground.
Anything causes an incident at the playground, though.
Yeah?
I think that maybe this isn't really the problem about games, but it's more about problems about like the tutors, the people who are watching over the children. So in the end, when you make a game, you have your target audience. So you know who are you going to target and who you want to make the game for. And yeah, some games might seem innocent, like Super Mario. Yeah, it's quite a harmless game. And at the same time, you know that if small children play this game, they might have different expectations in real life than we do, because we are adults, so we know like how things work. But I think this problem should be on the parents or on the tutors, on teachers, and not really on the game itself, because the game can teach children, the game can teach children things, but at the same time, we can't really leave children unattended and expect them to learn how life works just by playing a game, because the game is not really life.
So do you really think that before you create an open source game, while staying in open source world, you really think about the target audience? Well, or do you just want to create a game often which is fun for yourself?
Well, personally, but myself, I make a game for myself. That's being honest. But at the same time, being open source doesn't mean that you cannot have an audience, because you know when you make a game, you have like topics, you have subjects, you have play styles in your game, and even if it's open source, it doesn't matter, because yeah, it means anybody can hack with it and can play, can modify it, but still you have an idea about the people who are going to play your game. At least you should have, even if it's open source, that doesn't matter, I think.
The question is just how you can make sure that all developers agree on a similar target audience and level of content, so to say.
Well, I'd say you could have guidelines about what you want to have in your own project, and if somebody doesn't agree, then they can fork it, or they can. I mean, it's open source, so you can do whatever you want, right? Technically.
Yeah.
So,
In Westnod we have no gore, so there's no blood. It's a war game, but without blood. And this is maybe a good idea on the one side, but presenting war too clean might be a bad idea on the other side. My grandfather was in World War II in Russia, and yeah, it wasn't so nice. You have commercial games, advertising military. Hallo. Ah, genau die brauchen wir. Thank you very much, please. It looks a little bit. It looks a little bit more official.
I see some content on it.
Yeah, we have the very realistic America's Army first-person shooter, which is indeed very realistic. I have been told so, but it does not present any blood, and people just vanish from the battlefield. And yeah, this is for me, from my opinion, this is crossing a line. I would like to have first-person shooters as much realistic as possible, even with.
Very arcade.
Pardon?
Or very arcade.
Or very arcade, yeah, maybe. With a lot of jumping or so. So you really see this is not the real war. But if you want to simulate the real war, simulate all of it, please.
Well, no, but I disagree. Because
You disagree? Fine,
I
yeah.
just think you still have this responsibility. For example, if you play GTA for 10 hours and then you go driving, you have this moment when you think, oh, if I run these guys over, I get some bonus points. So if it's a
Yeah, really, you get.
simulation, then you have this blurring of the line between game and reality. So I think if you do a perfectly realistic war game, then I don't know, it could affect you psychologically.
Hopefully.
Yeah, but I think you still have to have this separation where in yourself you can say, okay, now I stop playing, now I'm in the real world.
I was just going to say, I think games are going to get ever more immersive anyway. And imagine a game where it was.
Sorry, please talk louder.
I was going to say, sorry, I was shouting already. I was going to say, I think games are only going to get more immersive. And I think, imagine a scenario where we do have a game that's exactly like life, where if you die, you die. That's it. Not literally, not physically, but you can no longer play the game.
Yeah.
What would it do on a social level if we were all playing a game? But you could, what's the competition? Where are you going with the game? I think that kind of things present an opportunity here for us to have like an ethical framework, be it in open source gaming or commercial gaming, where there is an understanding of where that level of immersiveness is and what it means to the player.
So your point is complete realism is just not possible or boring.
It's not viable, is it? I don't think.
That's the point. In fact, I totally agree with that. There is 3 points in here that we are discussing. First of all, one point is that the video game is an art, and as any art can be positive, negative, so it's a tendency. So when you see a movie in a cinema, it can be a good movie, bad movie, it can reflect the reality or not. Maybe you see, I don't know, movies of Arnold Schwarzenegger that are really funny, blah, and there is no blood, or the A-Team, and okay, it's fine for kids, there is no blood, but it's not the reality. And if you realize what they are doing, it's just really, really crazy. The second factor is when you play a video game, it's something kind of addictive, kind of dependent on the person, of course. And if you get so immersed, you tend to fade the real life for example, I discovered myself playing Assassin's Creed and a lot, and of course I like to travel, so when I go to watch a monument, I say, oh my god, I just climbed this monument in the Assassin's Creed, and you feel like, yeah, I'm going to climb it. No, of course not. But you feel like the impulse, and you get scared about yourself because your brain has faded in such a way a little bit the barriers between reality and fiction. And there is another factor, the challenge. The challenge is when you play a video game, you need a challenge, and it's a game. It's something for fun. If you try to make it realistic, as he says, you die and you don't play anymore. Okay, it's fine. It's a lesson. It's okay, but it's not a game anymore. It's something different.
So more of a simulation then.
Exactly. So and the games are getting more and more immersive. So finally, just to finish, you have those goggles that are I don't remember the name right now. But I really think the sensation and the feelings are going to be really, really immersive. And I think it's going to be a little bit dangerous for some, not all the people, not the mass media, you know, but probably some weak people that doesn't make the difference so clear in between reality and fiction. And that's kind of dangerous, I think.
Maybe I like to add, you talked about movies and commercial games, but every movie or commercial game is rated by some organization in most countries in the world, but that's not true for open source games. I have not seen an open source game rated. Yeah.
I haven't either. I just have to interject that games are not about fun only. Fun is one thing that games can be about, such as film can be about fun, but there can be a lot more also that is not pure fun enjoyment. It can be other kinds of enjoyment as well. I would just like to highlight this fact. Well, there have been experiments. Currently, games are mostly concentrated on the fun part, but for example, there have been experiments like Dear Esther and these kind of, or these kind of scary games that are not. Amnesia Dark Descent, for example, which is not very fun in itself. But
it is fun.
Yeah, it is fun. Yeah, I know it is fun. But anyway, dramatic movies are fun as well, but it's not fun in the same respect.
It's a history. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a message in the background.
There's always a message. Yeah. Sorry.
No problem.
You're talking about commercial video games, commercial movies in general, but you also have this huge field of independent movies that aren't guided by ethic committees or whatever. They can do whatever nasty stuff they want without being afraid of not getting published. So just want to point it out.
Skies, even if there is a rating, it doesn't really matter that much. I played Manhunt, but I was like 50.
Yeah, but there are parents who control at least that 8-year-old child is not.
That's what it all comes down to, isn't it? I mean, it's like the person said, there will be real people who will be affected. But it's the same with movies. It was the same with Catch.
Yeah, but maybe at least the adult must have a hint.
Yeah,
if
that's what I mean. It all depends on the person's home life. I mean, I was not affected, but if I were affected, I would hope that my parents would be able to see that.
Well, you think you are not affected.
Well, yes. I'm not violent, let's put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, with my English, I think maybe we can think about the video game is not so different than the outside, offline game. When I was young, there isn't internet, something like this. But we was fighting in reality with clothes from army and Fosdem and make something like very horrible. I can make torture with a puppet, and I can make burn my soldier and make very thing horrible. And it's normal for a guy.
But when you
make this, it's
when you punch the other kid on the nose, it's bleeding, isn't it?
Bleeding.
Yeah, blood.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. So you have a direct feedback what's possible and what you should avoid.
Also, but in my time, it wasn't like this.
Yeah.
And when we fall from the wall, we break the arm or something like that. I think the problem we can go through is to think about what's about the border of the free, human free, to be free to make art and what kind we want with the game, and what is the border with the aspect of bad thing for human being, bad consequences for human being. And I think in this aspect we can see, okay, there is addiction. It's not so good, not so bad, but it's free if you are addicted. But if it's addiction for something that we have to pay, this is not so ethical.
That's a good point, yeah.
Like Blizzard.
Yeah.
Like Blizzard, maybe.
If the thing are creating new ideology against other people, is also a bad thing. Against black people or against women or something like that. And so I think it's the role of ethical inside the virtual world, who is not really virtual because the place is virtual, but the users are not virtual. They are real. They are in life. The rules are the same for both in online and offline. And I think we can get inspiration about what's happening offline, about money, about merchandise, and what about the marketing, about politics, and about everything like this can be transferred inside the net. For example, Second Life is perfectly an example of a virtual world where will be integrate the money of Second Life money, but it's a real money. Then you can change with the real offline. So you are the bet for me, in my opinion, betting the money who gets the human being like a slave of money, like. So you're inside.
So your lines that has not to be crossed is commercial stuff and spending real life money.
Yeah, I think real life I prefer to say offline and inline world is not so different, and the ethical has to be the same.
Ah, okay. Hmm? Done.
You go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to add something. When you said that in real life, if you punch somebody in the face, it starts bleeding, so you know that there is a difference. But also, when we were young, for example, and we didn't play video games or we didn't have internet or whatever, then we would also play, for example, with dolls or other puppets. And if I would like take my sister's dolls and broke them, then tear them up and whatever.
I did that.
And then I would say that I would know the difference between a doll and a human. So there is ethics that you can apply both in playing offline, so playing in real life, and also playing in games. And I don't think that we really need to go too much into realism and say, yeah, games should be like realistic because you need to teach people that doing bad things in video games. Like they should know the difference.
Sorry. So.
Is it ethical to use mobile phones during talks?
Yeah, I think I know.
You have finished.
Yeah.
I think about connecting money with games. I think there are a couple of aspects. One is the fact that addictive. Yeah, exactly, addictive. One is the fact that if you hook the money getting thing exactly into the thing that causes addiction. For example, instead of a monthly fee, you actually get money from the addiction itself, not monthly from the players, but from the players that get addicted. They have to pay more because they want more, and then you give them more stuff that you can. This is very ethically questionable. if I'm concerned about it. But of course, there is a huge pay-to-play culture that actually accepts this as an ethical issue.
This is a really new thing now.
What?
This is how it goes now. This is all. Bad. Like,
Not
apps are
all.
based on this.
No,
now.
don't say all.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, this is
And-
really,
but-
you
but-
get the
but the
free
thing-
game and you have to pay in-game.
Yeah, but the thing is that you can do it. But the thing is a degree. It's not in itself bad. If you connect it directly to the addiction elements, then it of course goes very bad. But if you still allow meaningful paths that don't lead to costing money, then you provide an alternative for people that are addicted to the game but don't want to spend the money. Not every people do this. Anyway, the other aspect about connecting money, I think, is that, for example, if you pay for how do I say it? Well, I'll come back to it later after I've organized my thoughts a bit.
Yeah?
I believe he mentioned that games are art, and I believe art is more like expression and some perception. So you make expression and people have a perception. But I believe when you put some guidelines, you avoid people to have their own perception. Maybe.
Yeah, art shouldn't be censored.
Yeah. So I believe the thing about the games is that we have some more interaction with the art. So you can do something. You can do something that in that expression of that person. So as you mentioned, is the McDonald's game. So I believe it has more to do with the personal perception. So I can perceive that as like that kind of business is wrong. Not that the structure is meant to be like you become rich and you do bad things. But maybe this thing is bad. That's why it works that way. I believe it depends on the folks that are playing, and also that's something about art. So I'm not sure if a guideline would be good because you avoid people to have their own perception about that, and since it's a perception, it's something you did bad in the person. So it's not, in fact, your fault. It's something that was there before.
But sorry, I want to say something myself again. I've asked about PGP ratings that we usually don't have at open source product or anything independent. Of course, you're right. There must be a freedom of art, but I think it should be signed somehow. Yeah, you introduce stuff that might affect younger people, so put a sign in front of it. And we usually don't do that. Westnot has does Westnot have any written warnings about killing elves?
No, we have no warnings about murdering elves, but we have one campaign in which we explicitly say this is not targeted for the younger guys, UTVS.
Ah, really?
Yeah. We explicitly say this is different, it's not the clean mainline domain, and
I thought it was more about game mechanics and not...
also, yeah. But I think it was also about the maturity level.
Okay, bitteschön.
I think it's rather difficult to put a specific age requirement for a game. So what you could do
for a movie as well, or isn't
it? Yes, it's the same. I think you should put some labels in it. For example, in this game, you can see blood, you kill people, I don't know, whatever. But I think the people have to decide for themselves.
It's pretty much different from culture and country to country.
Exactly,
yeah. So you don't need to put a exact age number on it, but you can mention nudity or gore or whatever. Maybe racism. Yeah.
I think that it's not the game which makes a person violent, it's his insights, his psychology. It's about parenting and educational system.
Pardon me? A little bit louder, please.
It's about parenting and educational system. it's not about that. This game, for example, GTA 5, if a man plays it for 16 hours, then he goes out to the street and runs over the pedestrians. It's about the person who he is and how. So the game is just presses some buttons inside his mind, maybe, and if he has that red button, which is
Yeah, but many crimes nowadays only involve pressing buttons.
well, so I want to say that in the medieval ages, for example, I'm sure that on the playground, a small boy could hurt a small girl because, and if his parents asked him, "Why did you do that?" He would say, "Oh, you know, the church. They said that we must kill the witches, and she's not really a witch."
Ah, yeah.
And that's so. The games are not the main cause. It's inside the person.
You wanted to say the same?
Exactly. In fact, the GTA, well, another game from Rockstar that follows almost the same line is Red Dead Redemption. And it's so funny if you look at the videos in the internet and YouTube about the possibilities that the game gives to you. So I was just mentioning a story that happens to me. So you find a woman in the desert and something like that. The Rockstar shows her like really stupid, and so you don't like it. And I was speaking about a friend. What did you do in that situation? And I said, well, she didn't want to come with me to the city, so I left her there. Okay, it's fine. But he said, no, I just. My friend said, I grabbed the woman, I put in the horse. I look at the rail station. I put her in the rail station, and I just went was waiting for the train to pass, and I have some laugh about it. So, but it's a ridiculous situation. So because you don't going to do that in real life. So it was really. And the internet is full of possibilities, stupid possibilities that. If you analyze that like a normal person, you would say, "Oh my God, this is madness." And this is really sadistic and really bad, but it's funny because it's just like black humor. So in the end, you know, what is the difference in between good, evil, or the reality plays out or not? So you are not going to kill the people in the street just because you have seen it in GTA, and in GTA you have lots of possibilities to do it. So it's more inside yourself.
But GTA does punish you if you kill, or sometimes the police is behind you. Pardon me?
Depends. Sometimes it's a bonus.
Yeah.
Ah, really?
And you can kill the police guys.
Oh.
It's remarkable. Some kind with the new weapons.
You want
can kill the police guys, but if you kill too many of them,
yes.
you will have some repercussions, forcing you to kill more of them or run away. Yes. And eventually, running away gets really, really difficult. And killing more of them, you will run out of ammunition.
But the fun is on getting rid of them. So the fun is on getting pursued, and so you run away from them. So it's just like a challenge. You know, when you are a kid and you play in the playground to catch people, you know, because you like to run. So if you run from one policeman, okay, it's not so fun because it's so easy. Okay, you want thousands of policemen going after you, so it's more fun. And of course, to provoke that, you have to kill like, let's say, 5-10 policemen.
Yeah, but it's not the goal of the game.
No, it's not the goal.
Where in Carmageddon, for example, this is a challenge.
That was the goal.
You want to catch on your former speech?
I mean, it's kind of a sub goal in itself, even if it's not written. It could be a goal. Anyway, sorry. About the model of the evil act being inside the person and not in the game. I mean, we've all heard these media crazy. Well, I'm not going to go into expletive here, you know, even though I want to use some curse words for those articles that blame gaming on the killings and murders that people are doing, which is of course insane and has no basis in reality. And studies have shown that games are not causing anyone to do this. However, having that in mind, and since we are all a game developing community here and nobody's watching from the internet there.
Not yet.
Yeah, exactly. Having said that, it's not. It's a bit simplistic to think that something is inside the person and this just triggers it. The human mind is a complex thing, and games are one thing that affects it. Even if it's really bad to say it, because people automatically associate it with these crazy media articles that have no basis in reality, even though games may still affect as does anything.
I believe one of the main things on games is that you can test the limits. Like there is some things that you wish to do and you cannot do because you're
in real life.
and you choose what you want to test. Because sometimes you would like to be Mars, you would like to be Venus or galaxies, so you try it again. Or maybe you would like to see what happens if I kick a policeman. And that's different kind of limitations you want to test. So more or less is what you want to test and what you're looking for to the bond that you want to cross.
And the funny thing is there is no consequences. So, of course, if you go in the street and you kick a policeman, you have consequences. If you go in the video game, you want to test because you know that there will be consequences.
Yeah, you know what happens then. You have the testing. Oh, I should not do that. I will get in bad situations.
But if I remember the concept of GTA correctly, you are a criminal in this game. So they call you a criminal and you do... You can?
Well, yeah, as always, you can use things to bad things and good things. So you can have people.
No,
I don't think you can.
there is no way to finish a game
without
doing something well.
Without killing a lot of people.
So, in my opinion, it's okay when this game say we are the criminal now, and this is bad per definition. So we do bad things. But there are games where you are the hero and do stuff that is fragwürdig, questionable.
For example, in Red Dead Redemption, I don't know if you played the history mode, but in the history mode it was okay, you kill people, but the history was a guy that was redemptive himself, so the history was kind of positive, okay? Look at in such a way you want. And in this case, what they do is, just like in a movie, if you see like movies like Heat or movies of gangsters or things like that, they try to establish a link in between the user and the main character in such a way that, okay, they are criminals, they are bad people, but they try to empathize, they try to look the empathy. So there is different, in GTA, for example, there is in GTA
sorry,
5,
your point is the characters in GTA have a certain depth.
Yeah,
so
indeed.
you can understand why they do stuff.
Exactly, exactly. So, for example, in GTA 4, the main character, you start like I don't know, it was a kind of, you don't, in my case, for example, I didn't empathize at all with the character. And once I finished the game, I must recognize that you feel like some kind of empathy saying, okay, he did all this, but has some kind of his reasons. You know?
Maybe like Breaking Bad is one
exactly,
of my...
that's the same feeling. So, for example, in GTA 5, they show you 3 main characters, and those 3 have different personalities. So the people, they try to make the people empathize more with one, with the other, I don't know, it depends of the story, it's quite complex. But of course, in the video games in general, what they try to push is the same feelings in the movies. You try to identify the user with the character, even if it's evil, good, bad, they don't mind. Because in fact, what you want is to feel something and to have an experience. So if it's good or not, and if it's ethical or not, depends mainly of the director of the script. Because it has the same responsibility, like it's not all the responsibility in the creator, there is many people involved. So you have graphics that does the thing, you have programmers, but mainly it's the concept art and the script director that are going to have the ethical responsibility on the game. That's what I think.
Do you really think that people feel like royalty when they don't take on?
No, but that's different because the video games of the 80s was more like you move this piece, it fits in here. It's more like Tetris. So it doesn't matter. You don't associate reality with that. It's more like a puzzle, you know.
Sorry.
That's what I
Can we hear
say
his
that
voice?
I think it's very good for games to show a different rules of reality, or you in a game you can live experience that you will not live in the real world. This opens your mind. I think we should promote that the games make this difference explicit.
Yeah, I share this
when
opinion.
you write a game, you should think of what are these rules and what are the difference with the real world. And I think it would be very good if games and open source games make it easier that they have modules parts with if you make a module of a game that behaves like the real world. For example, you can write a game of war without blood and without permanent death, but you can write a mode that if you play it when you die you are dead and with a lot of blood. This model probably would be less fun to play,
but it should be available to.
But it would be very interesting for people to know, to make very explicit.
Something like a card mode and not a card
yes.
mode. Ganz da hinten.
I'm just thinking that I think there's a gap here. Like, I don't know if this exists.
Louder.
I think there should be like a standard body or something that kind of looks at, is gaming forward thinking? Is it good for human nature, the mind? Is it proactive and positive? We're focusing a lot on the negative and the war scenarios and the bad things that we see in games and ratings and all the rest of it. We know that ratings are driven commercially.
Yeah, indeed.
An organisation that looks forward, looks at the science, the psychology, the academia behind how the mind is affected by games and in society and stuff. And I think it'd be good if we had that applied to games.
There was a study a couple of years ago that showed that gamers had faster reaction times than normal people.
Yeah, it surely affects you. I remember when I played Quake 1, it's quite a while, I dreamed at night from being in Quake levels with other friends I know, and everyone had no weapon. Yeah, we were completely weaponless, so we had to trick the monsters, and many of us died, and every time I died I waked up totally wet from sweat. It was a dream. Then I fell asleep again and I reincarnated at the same. That took the whole night. And it was fun because I realized at some point, it's a game. Gesundheit. Yeah, it must have affected me.
But can I tell about the dreams? Yeah, I had this, somebody on the TV tried to type the fact that somebody gets dreams about the levels of games, and about walkthrough with them in the sleep, to the actual the rise of addicting to the games and the rise of violence amongst gamers. But normally, when you're sober or even drunk, sometimes you have dreams even more grim and crazy than just level of Quake. So,
or fever.
Yeah,
my fever dreams are.
The fever dreams are even more horrible. And normally, just any person having the bad dream, not going crazy and killing everybody.
Good point.
Dreams are our way of simulating reality and different outcomes and so on. So they are.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure, but that's one of the things that they are thinking about that might be dreams. They could be. I earlier had a concept that I was having trouble formulating. Can I introduce it?
Yeah, I remember.
This is a different question altogether. It's about money and games. Because as a game developer, people like developing games because they like games. So when you introduce money as one aspect of the game, the question is whether you actually are breaking the game itself, because games happen in this, well, sort of happen in this so-called magic circle, which is defined as things that happen in the game affect the game world itself, and things from outside don't affect the game world, things from inside don't affect the outside. Well, of course, it doesn't work completely like that, and there are games that explicitly try to break this. They do it in a specific.
The magic
for
sword
example,
plus
if I-
5.
And I can wait for 10 minutes, or then I can build it right now if I have the money, or then I can attack another person's castle with 20% more efficiency if I pay now. So then you are actually breaking the game, because why we love games is probably because they offer this different kind of world where things interact in different ways. So you are injecting money into that. So my question is, do we have an ethical responsibility as game developers to actually keep games as games?
Well, there is a point in that. For example, if you, okay, the sample that you gave was quite neat, and okay, in this case, well, you have the choice, so I don't see many major issues on ethics if you have the choice on paying or wait. Okay, it's fine. The problem is when, for example, I go back to the sample of Blizzard and World of Warcraft, for example. If when you pay the quote, the monthly fee of, I don't know, it was 12 euros when I was playing. Okay, you play, and they have methods that I don't think they are ethical at all. For example, I played like it was 8 months, and I decided to do not play anymore because I was seeing that the game was repeating itself once and again. So I got tired of the game, and I simply decided to do not play anymore. And I don't pay them my next fee. And I received an email, really, to me, really nasty, that convinced me to do not play anymore, ever in my life. It was like, we remarked that you don't play World of Warcraft, we are so sorry to...
That was from Blizzard?
It was from Blizzard. And he says, they said, well, if you feel that you're not playing anymore because you don't have time, we have special groups for you, so you can keep playing, but with special people that will allow you to keep playing without spending so much time and doing special missions. And I realized that I was like in a sect, or like it was a group, like, you know, that grabbing my mind. And I felt really bad, so I said, no, I don't want to speak with those guys at all anymore in my life. And I don't think that that's ethical at all. So if you have the choice of paying or not, it's fine. But there is a counterpart on this. Okay, you say, okay, I don't want to pay World of Warcraft, but I want to keep playing World of Warcraft. Okay, there is pirate servers all over there, so you can connect without paying and blah blah blah, which is illegal, but you can do it. The thing is, people that I know that played in the pirate servers always was complaining because there was hacks, and there was nobody trying to care about that. So there was lots of cheaters, and you are playing a game, and what is cool on playing a game is there is rules that you have to accomplish, and everybody follows that rules. So that means that if I'm better than you, I can win you. But of course, if you cheat, you will win me even if you are worse than me. So there is no point on playing that. So basically, when you pay the quote on World of Warcraft, you are paying the right on playing the right rules of the game. Only that.
Yeah,
the rest is, well, the rest of the hooking you and trying you to pay, to me it's completely illegal and should be in such a way punished.
Maybe this is partly off topic, but I quitted World of Warcraft because I had a stalker who wanted to marry me. and there was no way to get rid of him. You can silence characters, but not players. So every time I met a new nice person in this game, I thought, oh no, it might be him again. Yeah, and this was completely stressing me. Yeah, I can imagine a stalker in real life is one of the evilest things ever.
The people like Blizzard should well, they know of course, but they shouldn't have responsibility. So they should understand that okay, they made it such a big game that hooks the people in such a way that
I had the chance to point at him, and then his account was closed, but he just bought another one under another name and started again. Yeah, it was completely. I had no chance to get rid of him without leaving my character. Yeah, of course, without disguising. Yeah.
One thing, like I think the monetizing and sort of gambling kind of mechanics is an interesting question on that.
Please talk a little bit louder. I can't hear you.
Talking before about think of the children, you don't think they're a banana or whatever. But there's no ethical, there's no standard body that says, like movie ratings don't stop them putting ethically questionable characters as a lead character in the movie. You can tell like a PG movie that's got an ethically horrible lead, oftentimes they are, horrible character with bad ethics themselves, but the movie is PG because there's no violence. But ethically, it's not, the standard body doesn't care about ethics, it's not about ethics. So I think for games, the most important questions aren't whether a little kid sees something realistic violence, it's more these trickier ethical questions like how we hook people. Which you can't have a rating. You can't say this game is rated okay. If we're not hooking you, I'm taking my money. Well, it's much harder.
Yeah. Rating is a difficult question.
Yeah, but also I think with rating there's also this other layer where usually the kids are more tech savvy than their parents. So when the parents think they're in control, there's always a way to. I mean, if I know a game is when I'm 13 years old, like, oh, this is a mature game that I'm not allowed to play. That's
yeah,
the first thing I'm
but
going to do when my parents go to bed.
Maybe alone the fact that I'm not allowed to play the game teaches a child that there's something wrong with the game, and
yeah, but it still doesn't. Especially if we're talking about open source games, distribution is really easy. I can get it legally, perfectly. Yeah, I think there's this extra level of complexity involved. So it's not only about putting a label on it, it's also about maybe distribution or like publishing the games. So, yeah.
Yeah, you can't enforce that,
yeah.
Sure. Not for commercial stuff, and erst recht nicht, especially not with open source stuff. Yeah.
Maybe we can see the problem about accessibility. So it's not a problem from a programmer and a company, but more problem of social context of the child and role of the parents. Because with internet now, kids have the possibility to access to a lot of things, pornography, bad movies, bad games, and everything like this, including pedophile net who are on the net. And this is really, this is a danger for the kids. But this is also something near the game ethic problem. It's about all the net system, all this new
media
age of everything accessible. And this is for me, it's a debate more large about the ethical, not about game, but about internet access. And for me, it's incredible why
Sorry,
parents...
do you have children already?
Yes, but to your own.
Yeah, so it's
I
not a
think
question
we
right
use,
now.
The computer with touch screen and something like it. It's very good. I like it, but it's not too much. It's very good, and maybe you know more than his mother. But what I want to tell about is if I lose the target.
No problem.
I would like to add that I think obviously we are talking about the impact on children. Mainly.
Well, not only, but...
Mainly, I think that's very important to focus on. But I think there's a transition going on the current generation growing up with games and media because we obviously have much more understanding of the technical and because of the development in the last 20 years of something. Our parents didn't really understand about these 3D games, they didn't know it, but we have much more possibilities to control this for our children.
So you see the problem is not as worse as it was in the past regarding children. Yeah, I would agree. Wen hatten wir denn noch nicht? Da!
But honestly, talking about ethical questions, it's, I think, not just that we should talk about how can we save our kids. I think a very important ethical question is the reuse of content. In Westworld we see it pretty often that people just upload content to the add-on server, which they borrowed from some sites in the internet where they don't have the right to do so. So I think that's a pretty important ethical question of how should this be handled. How should it be handled where the users get their content from, which they then upload in contest again. And the step further is, where do the game projects get their content from, and how can they make sure that it's all legal and all rights and whatever is respected.
Yeah, but this is somehow controlled by government and laws. Yeah, I guess if we allowed uploading copyrighted content without any restrictions, we would be closed down sometime soon. Yeah.
It's the question.
Shall we
Would you
try?
really be closed down?
Shall we try it?
Is it possible to be really closed down as an open source project?
I think as a company you're not legally, I mean, if you allow people to really upload stuff to your website, I think the only thing you're legally required to do is that if you get an official document saying please remove this, I own it, then you have to remove it. But it's not really your responsibility what people are uploading.
No, that's...
we also demand that you license it under GPL v2 or later, and everyone else on the server also assumes that. So, well,
yeah, you realize it without the permission
to other add-ons, and eventually might end up in our repository. And yeah.
Maybe we hear.
Okay. I would say two things. First, to the guy said about we are in a generation of people who grew up with video games, so it's easier for us to handle video games for our children. I don't quite agree, because now nowadays are very, very different. At least for myself, I don't use Facebook. I don't play Flash games. I don't play games on my smartphone. So I'm not used to games that monetize time. So I know there are games like Farmville, so where you have to pay to actually access more content. So it's limited on time, and you have to pay money or like invite people from other like from Facebook, from Twitter or something to get more content. So I'm not familiar with those type of games, because I grew up with different games. So saying that society is moving towards a more acceptable community of people of adults who agree with games and they know games, I don't think it's quite true, because at the moment we are evolving really fast in the game, like in the game industry, on different technologies. So it's not really immediate to say that we are all aware of how games work. Even though we grew up with games, we can't really assume that we know what our children are doing with, while playing games on their iPad or something. I'd say.
At least I feel tech savvy enough
Yeah,
to
of
lock
course.
down the machine of
at
my.
the moment, yeah, but how, like in 20 years, how do you know it? That we will know about the technology in the future. I mean, it's changing so fast. For example, like we have other dangers because now I would assume that if a child starts playing Farmville or whatever other social game, there are some tricks they can maybe perform to get more content, so they can invite people, they connect with strangers. So there are dangers that maybe at my age, when I used to play games when I was younger, I didn't have those problems because they were mostly offline games and even online games. They were with interaction with actual people. But nowadays you can actually connect with bots, with illegal accounts on Facebook or something like this, and meet strangers, dangerous people who you can't really control. At least it's not so immediate.
Maybe that's a little bit paranoid, because
No,
most,
yeah, I
most,
mean,
most child abusing is taking place in the near relatives.
well,
Yeah,
it is
98% of all child abusing is the
Yeah,
uncle
yeah,
or the aunt.
I
Yeah.
think the problem is not really about child abuse, but it's also about leaking personal data.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you are connecting with strangers, and we didn't have that problem 10 years ago, but now we are leaking data everywhere. So it's also a problem, I would assume.
And besides, we don't even know what kind of games will be developed when we are also when our children are grown up.
Yeah.
So I don't know what kind of concepts they play with. Maybe they play with their social network, for example. Connecting with different people means different things and so on. Games are going in different directions, so we can't really assume that we know. However, there has been an increase in. What we do know is that things are playful, but our parents perhaps didn't know how to handle playful things in general. So that is a concept that can be applied, even if the games themselves change. I think.
Maybe my time is.
I think your time is basically over.
Oh, that's yeah. Thank you very much. Sorry.